Well, hello, Derek.
Good morning. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well this morning. Trying to stay dry.
Yeah. I saw that you did not bring the rain with you.
No, it kind of split when it got to Murphy, I think. I think it went around. This went to Andrews.
It did. It did.
There was, I don't remember what day it was. I guess it was day before yesterday. Was the most torrential rain that I think I've ever experienced in my life. I was at home and I had went home early that day. I had to take my son to a doctor's appointment and had just gotten back to the house and I thought I'd do a little bit of work outside, and all of a sudden it was like somebody was pouring it out of 5-gallon buckets. And normally, but normally when that happens, it's like 4 or 5 minutes and it's done, it's over with. But this was like 20 minutes worth, and I mean it just kept raining, and all my gullies that I have across the road to turn the water is now full of mud, and the driveways got ruts down it, and I told my wife, I said, I'm not even going to worry about trying to fix it till all this rain kind of moves out of here. And
well, evidently it's going to continue on. I think it's till August 11th. It's called Dog Days. Dog
Days, right? I think there was a little bit of discrepancy on the radio the other day about when Dog Days were.
Yeah. Daddy looked it up in the almanac, though.
It's till August 11th then,
yep.
Right? Yeah, I thought somebody had talked about it later in the fall, and I think that's a little too late for Dog Days. I think it's right in the middle of the summer. It's supposed to be Dog Days. So.
July 3rd to August 11th.
Right. Well, it's definitely here. We're getting the rain, but I guess we need it. We'll by August we'll be wishing we had some rain, especially along about the eclipse time, and and we'll be wishing we had some rain coming in the area. Speaking of it, just a minute, we're not going to dwell on it, I don't guess, but with the eclipse, we got some new numbers coming in for that, and but I was doing some research last night, and even the new numbers that came in, the company that did it, that done the numbers, then turned around and said, but basically we're guessing, so, but they're saying now that we'll have somewhere in the vicinity of about 20,000 or so coming into Cherokee County, in addition to the people who live in the Path area. So they're taking into account. They're not really taking into account. There's North Georgia, top of North Georgia counties, and Graham County and Tennessee and those kind of things. They're just looking like the Atlanta area, and
who would come up
to here. So they're looking at about 20,000 in addition to the Path. So. The company that did that, when I was doing some research on it last night, basically said that across the United States, from Washington to South Carolina, could be anywhere from 1.8 million people would travel into the Path to anywhere from that to 7.8 million people. So,
wow,
6 million people is a huge discrepancy. So they're just they're like everybody else. They're guessing. We don't have any idea what to expect, and. But we are trying to put plans together, and Robin Caldwell has worked feverishly on this with all the agency heads, trying to figure out emergency preparedness and what to do, and and those type of things.
I was just really amazed at the number of porta potties y'all have ordered for that day.
It's amazing. Didn't know we had that many porta potties. But
you have to think of things like that.
Yeah, you have to think of all kind of things. And I think at church Sunday, John Cook had come up to me and said that he wanted to meet with the deacons and the pastor Sunday and talk about, because we live right there, in Andrews. Our church lives right there in Andrews, and so we're trying to make plans on what we need to do as a church and how to prepare for it, and how to try to reach the people that's coming to the area and have temporary shelter and those kind of things.
You can use our parking lot and our grass and everything, but you got to come to church Sunday.
There you go. That would work. And I think one of the plans is maybe on that Monday is leaving the doors open to the church so that people that wants to come in and get in air conditioning and and kind of just get in out of the weather if it's raining, whatever it may be. And then while they're coming in, there'll be an opportunity to talk to them and and just kind of visit with them and find out about them and those kind of things.
Into getting T-shirts made that were, I watched the eclipse from Valleytown Baptist Church.
Yeah, that would work, wouldn't it? that would work real good. But there is just like I say, there's a million things to try to think about and try to plan for and prepare for. And it's kind of, it's one of those things that you don't want to under-prepare. You don't want to be caught off guard, but you don't want to expend all these resources and time and effort if you don't need them either. So it's kind of one of those things that we're preparing for the worst, expecting the worst to happen, preparing for the worst, and hoping for the best.
Right.
So I was, self and Dustin Smith from Murphy PD was talking the other day, and I told Dustin, I said, if all this pans out to where nobody shows up and it's just a heavy traffic day and we don't have no real issues, that'd be great. We'll go down to the tent, eat us a hot dog, and sit back in the chair and watch the eclipse. So, we're just trying to do what we can to help prepare for that coming in. And I don't think it'll be long talking about things coming. I don't think it'll be long till Tim be coming back. Hopefully,
Yep.
He's been out of town for a day or two, and I've noticed some of his posts that he's been putting on Facebook and those type of things. And we're along with us and his family. We're kind of babysitting his house while he's gone and making sure that nothing happens there. And so we're looking forward to seeing Tim back. And I'm sure if he can get into cell service somewhere down there and internet service, maybe he can listen to the program today and just tell him we miss him and want him to come back home pretty soon.
Yeah, I think he is on the road from one place to another to get ready to be back.
Yeah.
So with all this extra preparation that you've been planning, I'm guessing the 4th of July was just a breeze.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Actually, attendance on the 4th of July was kind of low this year because it rained, several rain events throughout the day. And by the time the fireworks came, it came a real good downpour shower in Murphy right before the fireworks. And I was kind of a little bit concerned it was going to cancel because of the rain, but it moved through fairly quickly and moved out.
Right.
And they were able to go ahead and have the fireworks there. And I actually, when it started raining in Murphy, I thought it might get rained out in Murphy, so I just went ahead and drove to Andrews. Thought I'll go to Andrews fireworks. And when I got to Andrews, as I was coming up Airport Straight, I noticed over the mountain toward Robbinsville there was one big thunderhead cloud, and I could see lightning in that cloud. And I thought, well, they won't have fireworks in Andrews if it's lightning up here. But it kind of moved on and got out of the way. And so Andrews, just as soon as it got dark and they could start theirs, they went ahead and started and got it done. And at the finale at Andrews, I drove back down to Murphy, and I got to Murphy to catch about the last half of Murphy fireworks. So, but the attendance was kind of low. The Murphy PD reported that it had been low all day long because of the rain and the weather and those kind of things. So, but yeah, we didn't have any major incidents or anything like that going on, and just business as normal. And,
well, we came back down to Murphy just to kind of putter around a little bit, and we didn't go anywhere near that section. Right. Nowhere near the park. Yeah. Just because we didn't want to get stuck in traffic jams.
Right.
So.
Well, I noticed too. Years ago, of course, I'm dating myself. I mean, I remember when the 4-lane was built, and I remember traveling the old road to Andrews. But when the 4-lane was first built, in years up to recent years, a lot of people parked up and down the 4-lane to watch the fireworks. Really? But now there's so much undergrowth and trees and those type of things. There's only a few select places you can park up there to watch the fireworks there in Murphy. And but it was a neat thing there in Andrews. I didn't realize this when I was in Andrews and was driving around talking to people and those kind of things. I went back out to the 4-lane, anticipating there may be heavy traffic coming out, might need to help at the 4-lane. So I parked out there across the 4-lane where the Smoky Bear sign and all that is, going down the airport road. And there was just a perfect view of the fireworks from there. There was a V in the trees, and the fireworks was right between them, and it was just a perfect viewing area. So
you found your spot.
I found my spot, and I may give it away. Maybe people won't remember it next year.
Yeah,
but that was a good spot.
When Leo was here, he was talking about they could watch it from their yard.
Right.
There. They got a good view too. So,
right.
Of course, that show will air tomorrow. So.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Yes. He didn't say that.
But like I say, the eclipse that's coming, we're just preparing for that, trying to get, our ducks in a row. And from the sheriff's seat, from my seat, I have to go above and beyond what a lot of people have to prepare for. We have to make sure that our citizens are taken care of. We have to make sure that we're available for them and responding to calls and having manpower and people out for that. But in addition to all that, we have to be thinking about things like a catastrophic event, terrorist activity, airplane crash in the middle of it. I mean, there are just all kind of different things that we have to try to anticipate and try to do the what ifs.
People never
Right.
think of.
Yeah, we have to do kind of the what ifs. And even you think about weather. I mean, you think about you got that many people in one place. What happens if a thunderstorm pops up that day and lightning strikes in the middle of a bunch of people? What happens if a tornado passes through?
And I don't reckon we'll have that helicopter yet.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you look at these things and you don't really expect it to happen and don't think it'll happen, but you still have to look at this what if scenarios and what's our contingency plans for those kind of things. So, like I say, Robin has worked feverishly on this, and we have had multiple meetings. And I'll think of something, I'll pick up the phone, I'll call Robin, and she'll answer the phone. I say, Robin, I've not talked to you about the eclipse in about 30 minutes, so we need to talk about it.
You wake up in the middle of the night with an idea.
Yeah, and so we're constantly on the phone back and forth, bouncing ideas off each other, and she's the same way with the EMS director, and other EMs around the state, and just bouncing ideas off of different people, and inevitably, every time we have a meeting or come together on this, something comes up that we hadn't anticipated, we hadn't thought about. And so, it's one of the things that, I kind of encouraged her the other day and told Robin, we've got to understand that we're not going to be prepared for everything. There's just so many variables that could happen. We can't be prepared for everything, but we can kind of have a strategic plan in place. But we'll drive ourselves crazy trying to think about all the what ifs and all the things that are out there. So we're just we're trying to put it all together and where it makes sense to us and makes sense to those around us, and hopefully we'll be available and be there to help everybody's needs during that time.
Yep.
One thing I do want to share with the people though on this is, and I know I mentioned this and I mentioned it a lot, but I want you to be thinking about this, is think of August 21st, Eclipse Day. Think of this as you're watching weather and a snowstorm's coming.
Yeah.
And so kind of think of it on those terms and do kind of the things that you would do in wintertime when a snowstorm's coming. Just kind of get you some bread and milk and some eggs, toilet paper, fill your car up with gas, just kind of do the things, days ahead of time of what you would think about a snowstorm coming. It don't mean we have to wig out or freak out, have to panic. We don't have to do that, but we do need to have a little bit of mindset about us for preparedness. And
because I mean, and I guess the businesses in the area are getting prepared for there may be an influx,
right?
So they're going to need to have extra,
right?
You don't want to go to a hamburger joint and then be out of them,
right? And that's one of the real possibilities, that the emergency management directors have been talking about, is that with not knowing who's coming, with not knowing how many people will be here, not knowing how many people might get stranded here, we really don't know whether restaurants will have enough food through the weekend. We don't know whether.
Because you don't know when that influx is going to come.
All likelihood is, late Sunday night, early Monday morning is when it'll start coming. But when you start, as much as advertisements been out there, as much as been talking about on the internet and the news and all the different things that are out there, you don't know when people might start coming. So if they decide, hey, I'm going to drive up Friday and I'm going to spend the entire weekend up there, and if I can't find a hotel room, I'm just going to hang out in my car, I'm going to pitch a tent somewhere on the side of the road or whatever. If that's kind of the mindset of people trying to beat crowds and get here, then we could potentially start seeing that big influx over the weekend, over the course of the weekend. And so, there is just no way of knowing whether the resources are enough or not until we go through it. And the last event that we had that was a total eclipse that went from coast to coast was in 1918. So you can't really go back and look at the last event and say this is what to expect, because times are completely different than they were in 1918. And so we just really don't know. All we can base it on is what they say, what happens around the world and what happens in other countries and in different places. And going back to that company that's doing the statistics and the numbers, one of the things they also said on there was that they didn't calculate or they didn't put in there the influx of people that's coming from other countries, that's coming from around the world in different places.
Scientists who follow.
Right.
Yeah.
So those numbers of 20 to 25,000 is just strictly residents who live near the path, you know.
And they want to.
Right, and that might want to travel into the area.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the time you figure in people coming in around the world and people traveling all over the place, and those you don't anticipate, and weather could play a huge part in it as how many people comes or don't come, and one of the things that there's no way of anticipating when calculating these numbers is you don't know how many people just wakes up on Monday morning and says, "Hey, I think I'll just drive up there. I wasn't planning on it, but I think I'll drive up around Andrews somewhere and see if I can see the eclipse." And so you just don't know how many people's going to crawl out of that bed that morning without thinking about it and just get in the car and start driving. You know, so there's really no way of knowing what those numbers truly will be. But the bottom line is our road systems can only hold so many cars, and once traffic starts backing up, it can only move so fast. And
okay, a perfect example.
Right.
Pigeon Forge. When you're up there, there's only so many cars available. I mean, only so much space.
Right.
And they've never they've never prepared for the influx of some of the times that they've got, like a car show going on up there or something.
Yeah, and your Christmas events and different things that happens up there.
And your bumper to bumper traffic for hours.
Right. And you know, really, I personally feel, it's just opinion of mine. Like I say, I have nothing to base this on, but I personally feel that especially on that Monday, we will see that kind of traffic, that kind of bumper to bumper and kind of thing, because it is a once in a lifetime event, you know.
Yes.
And people don't want to miss out on a once in a lifetime event. So if you're in North Georgia or East Tennessee and you're outside the path, and you're thinking, I can drive on a normal day, I can drive 15, 20 minutes or an hour, even up to an hour, you know, and see a once in a lifetime event. A lot of people will get in their cars and try to attempt it, try to get as close as they can to it. And a lot of people may turn around and head back home once they try to. But yeah, we just, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
So you said last week that by the time you came back this week, you'd be in a new budget year.
I am in a new budget year.
How about that?
We started a brand new budget. Awesome. I got me an oil change for my car because we're in a new budget.
New budget, oil change. There you go. That's funny.
Yeah. No, I needed one last week, and I said, it's almost time for a new budget. I'll just wait till the next week to get one. And but we are in a new budget year, and we are starting the process all over again, back at zero, and trying to figure out how we're going to spend our money and what we're going to spend it on this year. And the commissioners did allow us 5 cars this year to replace, and that's going to be generally the norm that we're going to see, about 5 cars a year. Some of those we'll try to pay out of our asset forfeiture money, so it don't come out of county monies. But about 5 cars a year is what we're expecting. It's going to have to replace to keep the fleet up to date, to keep it going.
Yeah, because you don't want somebody broke down trying to get to a.
When I took over in 2014, the fleet was so dilapidated that the average mileage on a patrol unit was 230,000 miles per car. That was the average. And so we had cars that was constantly breaking down, cars that was officers responding to calls and couldn't make it because the cars were quitting before they got there. Mm-hmm. We actually, when we bought new cars, we actually had a car that we took off the fleet. An officer was driving it on patrol, took it off the fleet and parked it, got all the stuff out of it, put him in a new car, stripped it down where it was sitting, and put it on Gov Deals and sold it. And the guy came to pick it up, and when he came to pick it up, he drove out of our parking lot, went down the 4-lane, and the wheel flew off of it, went down through the thicket, went out through the weeds. And so that officer was just really just a matter of minutes away from having an accident.
Yeah, because he would have been going faster.
Right. And so if that next call he would have been on had been an emergency call and he was driving fast, that could have been catastrophic, not only for him but for the public. And so looking back and seeing those things and those near misses, that's why it's so passionate of mine to try to keep the fleet up to date, to try to keep good vehicles, to try to keep it where officers not only can officers respond to you when you call and they can get there in a safe manner, but so that they're not in danger when they're driving up down the roads either. You know, and when you think about this, when you got those old cars and those old problems with that, not only are you putting your officers in danger, but you're putting the public in danger too.
Yeah.
Because when that wheel flies off, you don't know, he could be on a 2-lane road and cross the center line, hit somebody head on. You know, so that's it's a safety issue, not just for the officers but also for the public. So we're on a good path now. We've got a plan. The county's on board with the plan. Commissioner's on board with the plan, and it looks like if we keep going the way we're going, that we'll be able to keep our vehicles up to date. And even some of those that we can hand back down, we've been able to hand them off to other departments within the county. Some of our SUVs, you know, we've given to the rec department or to DSS or some of these places that's not driving high speeds, that's not going long distances, that can stand to drive some cars with some high mileage on it. So a lot of those things we're putting down into other county departments where we're not having to spend money out of their budget. So not only are we saving money in our own budget, but we're saving money in other departments' budgets too, by recycling those cars and handing them down. So it's just a trickle effect, and we're hoping to keep on that plan and keep it going and make some headway on that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're always trying to look for new ways of saving money and cutting budgets, but we also do have to acknowledge that we have an operating expense that we have to do, and that we it takes money to make the wheels go round, and we have to respond to places. And one of the things that always gets us is overtime issues and comp time and those kind of things. But it's like me and the county manager was talking one day, and it's like I told Randy, I said, you know, we're a little bit different than everybody else in the fact of when somebody picks up the phone and call 911, we can't just say, well, we're out of overtime money, we can't come, you know, or I've got too much comp time this week, so I can't respond to your call. When people call, we have to go, regardless of what the budget is, regardless of what the money situation is. And so they understand that, and they're well aware of that. And so when I took over as sheriff, there was some huge comp time buildups with some of the employees. Many hundreds of hours of comp time that's built up in the previous administration. So one of the things that we have done this year is the county has agreed to go ahead and pay out all those comp times to all those people and clear the books and get it down to zero. And so we can get a true picture from here on out of how much comp time we are accruing through this administration and through our efforts. And that way we can make a good estimate and a good judgment of whether it's more cost effective to keep increasing overtime budgets and part-time budgets, or is it more cost effective to hire new people and to have new positions. So we're actually in a place now where we're back to zero on that with this budget, and we'll be able to track that better and be able to see what's more cost efficient for the county. And so that's what we're always doing. We're looking for ways to be more cost efficient and ways to go back and show that, yeah, we've asked for another position and, yeah, the budget's increased, but it's decreased here on this other front, and that we're actually saving money on that. And that's hard to figure out sometimes because sometimes you look at a line item and it may go up. Like, for example, personnel may have increased $100,000 on this budget, but when you look at your budget overall, you may have decreased part-time hours or decreased overtime and decreased these other things. And so you have to look at the net effect of that and see what happens. So sometimes those budgets are difficult to go through, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to figure out kind of what that net effect is. And unfortunately, for political purposes, you can kind of pick through those things and make issues out of things that are not issues. And without knowing what you're looking at and without hearing an explanation, sometimes it's easy to jump to conclusions and make assumptions about things. And just like with the cars, for example, you know, it's some people may hear this and say 5 cars every year, you know, that's a lot of money and that's a waste. But then when you go back and you look at your maintenance and you go back and you look at your repair bills and your repair lines and you see the decrease in those, it's a washout, and sometimes it's more cost effective to buy the new car than it is to replace motors and transmissions and front ends and rear ends and all those kind of things. And so it's just something, that as we go in the budget or into the political year, into re-election year, these are all things as it gets closer and as we put our names on the dotted lines and try to run for office again, those are all things that we'll make readily available for the public with explanations as to why we've done what we've done and the decisions we made. And I don't try to hide anything or try to keep anything secret. If you want to know, just call and ask, and we'll talk about it, and and we'll explain it to the best of our abilities. So, but with our numbers, our statistics, our budgets, all those kind of things, I've already got a plan for this next year of certain dates and times of putting out those things to the public of as people can consume that and digest it and put more things out so people understand what we've done in the last 4 years.
Has it really been that long? Really?
It's the third year.
Wow.
Yeah. December 1st will be our 3 years that I've been in office, and I'll be starting my 4th year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. So.
Okay, and we didn't have anything on the agenda to talk about today.
No, we
did
didn't. No.
Let's see. We did it again.
We did it again. Yeah.
Well,
Welcome.
thanks for coming.
Hurry back, Tim. We're
All right.
anxious to see you.
Yeah, we miss you, Tim.
From the WKRK Forecast Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Day.